Shalom, my friends. Have you ever felt like you are standing before a locked door, praying for God to open it? You knock, you plead, you beg, you say, God, please, just open the door to this opportunity, to this healing, to this breakthrough. And you wait, and nothing happens. The silence is deafening. And in that silence, you begin to wonder, does God hear me? Does He even care? What if I told you that while you are waiting for God to open the door, He is waiting for you to turn the key? What if I told you that the key has been in your pocket the entire time? This is one of the most powerful and most misunderstood principles in all of Torah. It is the secret that separates the creators of miracles from the victims of circumstance. It is the answer to the question, why isn't God answering my prayers? And the answer is this: God moves when you move first. Today we are going to dismantle the passive, waiting, wishing mindset that keeps so many people trapped in mediocrity. We are going to replace it with the divine law of proactive faith. I will prove to you from the deepest sources of our tradition that heaven does not respond to your need. It responds to your movement. And I will give you a 3-step protocol that will teach you how to take the first step that triggers the divine avalanche of blessing in your life. If you have ever felt stuck, paralyzed by fear, or frustrated by unanswered prayers, this message is your liberation. But before we unlock this door, I want you to take the first step right now. In the comments below, I want you to write down the one breakthrough you have been waiting for God to deliver. A business deal, healing, a relationship. Write it down. I have been waiting for. This act of honesty is the beginning of your movement. And as you commit to moving, I invite you to join this army of movers and shakers. We are gathering 50,000 souls who are done with waiting and are ready to partner with God to create their destiny. If you are one of them, hit that subscribe button now. It is your first move. And for those who are ready to learn the entire system of divine partnership, the master blueprints of co-creation, the Torah Millionaire Business School is your training ground. This is where I teach the 3,000-year-old Jewish laws of action, faith, and wealth creation. It is a $299 investment in learning how to make God your business partner. Enrollment is closing very soon. The link is in the comments. Do not wait for that door to close. All right, let's dive into the heart of this mystery. The foundational concept is a powerful principle from Kabbalah called Itaruta Delatata, which means an awakening from below. This principle states that for there to be an Itaruta Delaela, an awakening from above, there must first be an action, an impulse, a movement from the physical world. In other words, we have to make the first move. God's response is a reaction to our action. We are the cause. The miracle is the effect. This shatters the common religious idea of a passive faith, where we just sit back and wait for God to do everything. The Torah teaches an active faith, a faith of partnership. God does not want slaves who wait for orders. He wants partners who take initiative. He wants co-creators. The most dramatic and undeniable proof of this is the story of the splitting of the Red Sea. The Israelites are trapped. The Egyptian army is behind them. The sea is in front of them. They are terrified. And what do? They cry out to God. They are praying, begging for a miracle. And what is God's response? It is one of the most shocking and instructive lines in the entire Torah. God says to Moses, "Ma titzak elai, daber el bnei Israel v'yisa'u." Why are you crying out to me? Tell the children of Israel to move forward. Think about the audacity of this statement. God is essentially saying, stop praying and start moving. The solution is not in the sky, it is in your feet. The power is not in your voice, it is in your action. He is telling them that their prayers, at this moment, are a form of inaction. They are a way of avoiding the terrifying responsibility of taking the first step. And then the Midrash, our ancient oral tradition, fills in a detail that is not in the written text, but is the key to the entire story. It says that even after God gave the command to move, the people were still frozen in fear. They stood at the edge of the water, hesitating. But then one man, Nachshon ben Aminadav, the prince of the tribe of Judah, did something radical. He walked into the sea. He kept walking. The water came up to his ankles, his knees, his waist, his neck. The Midrash says he kept walking until the water was up to his nostrils, and he was about to drown. And only then, at the very last second, did the sea split. The miracle was not a response to their prayers. It was a response to Nachshon's action. His movement was the itaruta del tata, the awakening from below. The splitting of the sea was the itaruta del ela, the awakening from above. Nachshon was the key in the lock. His faith was not a feeling, it was a verb. It was an action. This is the paradigm shift. You are standing at the edge of your Red Sea, your debt, your fear, your sickness, your loneliness, and you are praying for it to part. And God is saying to you, "Why are you crying out to me? Move forward." He is waiting for you to be Nachshon. He is waiting for you to take the first, terrifying, illogical, faith-filled step into the water. This pattern is repeated throughout the Torah. Look at Abraham, the father of our faith. The first time we meet him, God says, "Lech lecha," go forth from your land. He does not say, "I will make you a great nation, and then you will go." He says, "Go, and then I will make you a great nation." The action came first. The blessing was a response to the action. Abraham had to leave his home, his comfort zone, his entire identity, based on a promise. His movement triggered the fulfillment of the promise. Or look at the story of the widow's oil from the second book of Kings, which we have discussed before. The prophet Elisha tells the destitute widow to go, borrow vessels. Her action of gathering the vessels was the prerequisite for the miracle of the oil. The oil, the shefa, only flowed because she first took the step of preparing the containers. Her movement created the capacity for the miracle. So why is it this way? Why does God set up the system so that we have to move first? There are 3 deep reasons. First, free will. God's greatest gift to humanity is free will. He will not violate that gift. He will not force a miracle on you. Your action is your vote. It is your declaration of consent. When you take a step, you are saying, "Yes, I want this. I am a willing participant. I am choosing to partner with you." Without that first move, God's hands are, in a sense, tied. He is a gentleman. He will not barge into your life uninvited. Your action is the invitation. Second, partnership. As we have said, God wants partners, not puppets. The Talmud teaches that man is a shutaf b'maaseh bereshit, a partner in the work of creation. A partner does their part. Our part is to act in the physical world. God's part is to handle the spiritual mechanics. When you make the sales call, that is your part. When the client's heart is miraculously opened to say yes, that is God's part. But if you never make the call, you give God nothing to work with. You have abdicated your role as a partner. Third, building the vessel, kli. Often, the action itself is what prepares you to receive the blessing. The act of moving forward builds the spiritual and physical muscles you need to handle the miracle when it arrives. When you start the business, you learn the skills of management and finance. When you start the exercise routine, you build the discipline and strength. The journey prepares you for the destination. If God just gave you the $1 million without you having built the vessel of character and wisdom to manage it, it would destroy you. Your first move is the beginning of building that vessel. So, how do we apply this in our lives? I want to give you a practical 3-step framework. I call it the Nachshon Protocol. Step 1. Identify your sea. What is the Red Sea in your life right now? What is the major obstacle that stands between you and your promised land? Is it a mountain of debt? Is it the fear of starting your business? Is it a broken relationship? Is it a chronic health issue? You must be specific. Name it. Write it down. Look it in the eye. This is your sea. Step 2. Take one step. This is the heart of the protocol. You are not going to part the sea today. You are just going to get your feet wet. What is the smallest, most concrete physical action you can take right now to move towards that sea? Not think about it, not make a plan, an action. If your sea is debt, your one step might be to call one creditor and negotiate a payment plan. If your sea is starting a business, your one step might be to register the domain name. If your sea is a broken relationship, your one step might be to write a letter of apology, even if you do not send it yet. The step must be small enough that you can do it right now, but significant enough that it represents a real movement. This is your Nachshon moment. Step 3. Detach from the outcome. This is the faith part. After you take your step, you must release the outcome to God. Your job is to step. God's job is to part the sea. Do not take a step and then stand there tapping your foot waiting for the miracle. That is not faith. That is anxiety. You take your step and then you say, "Okay, God, I did my part. The rest is up to you." And then you focus on the next step. This is the essence of emunah, faith, and bitachon, trust. You trust that your action has activated a response, even if you cannot see it yet. I remember when I wanted to start these video messages. My Red Sea was the fear of public speaking and the overwhelming technical details. For months, I was paralyzed. I prayed for God to give me confidence, to make it easy, and nothing happened. Finally, I realized God was waiting for me. My Nachshon step was to buy a cheap microphone and record myself speaking for 5 minutes, just for myself. It was terrible. But I did it. I moved. The next day, I did it again, and again. And slowly, the sea began to part. The confidence came. The skills developed. The opportunities appeared. But it all started with that one terrifying first step. Let me share another story that illustrates this principle in a profound way. There was a man in my community, a businessman, who had been praying for years for a breakthrough in his finances. He was deeply in debt, struggling to provide for his family. Every Shabbat, he would come to synagogue and pour his heart out to God. Please, God, send me a miracle. Send me a client. Send me an opportunity. And nothing happened. Year after year, the same prayers, the same struggle. One day, I sat him down and I asked him, "What have you done this week to move towards your breakthrough?" He looked at me confused. "What do you mean? I have been praying." I said, "Prayer is powerful, but God is waiting for you to move. What action have you taken?" He said, "I do not know what to do. I am stuck." I said, "Then your first step is to learn. For the next 30 days, I want you to read one book on sales, listen to one podcast on business, and reach out to one potential client or mentor every single day. Move." He was hesitant, but he agreed. He started moving. He started learning. He started reaching out. And on day 17, he got a response from a mentor he had contacted. That mentor introduced him to a client. That client became his biggest account. Within 6 months, his debt was paid off. Within a year, his business had tripled. What changed? Not his prayers. His prayers had been the same for years. What changed was his action. He became Nachshon. He stepped into the water, and the sea parted. Now, I want to address a critical question that I know some of you are asking. "Rabbi, what if I take the step and nothing happens? What if I move and the sea does not part? What if I fail?" This is the fear that keeps most people frozen. And here is the truth. Sometimes the first step does not immediately produce the miracle. Sometimes the water keeps rising. Sometimes it gets harder before it gets easier. But here is what you must understand. Every step you take is building spiritual momentum. Every action is an investment in the heavenly bank. The Talmud teaches mitzvah goreret mitzvah. One good deed leads to another. Your action creates a ripple effect in the spiritual realms that you cannot see. You are not just taking a step, you are setting forces in motion. Think of it like this. When you push a heavy boulder, It does not move immediately. You push, and for a long time, nothing happens. But the entire time you are pushing, you are creating micro-movements. You are overcoming friction. You are building energy. And then, suddenly, the boulder tips. It starts rolling. And once it starts, it becomes unstoppable. Your first steps are the pushing. The miracle is the tipping point. But you will never reach the tipping point if you do not push. There is also a deeper spiritual truth here. The Zohar teaches that when you take a step of faith, when you perform an itaruta deltata, you are not just triggering a response from God. You are actually revealing a blessing that was already there, waiting for you. The blessing was hidden, concealed, because you were not ready to receive it. Your action is the key that unlocks the treasure chest. The treasure was always yours. You just had to claim it. This is why the Torah says that when the Israelites left Egypt, they left with great wealth. The Egyptians gave them gold, silver, and precious stones. Where did this wealth come from? It was always theirs. The Midrash teaches that for 210 years the Israelites had been working as slaves, building the cities of Egypt. They were owed wages. But as long as they were slaves, as long as they were passive, they could not claim it. The moment they took the step to leave, the moment they moved, the wealth that was rightfully theirs was released. Your breakthrough, your healing, your opportunity is already yours. It is waiting for you to move. Let me also address the role of the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, in this process. The Yetzer Hara knows this principle. It knows that if you take the first step, the floodgates of heaven will open. So what does it do? It paralyzes you. It fills your mind with fear, doubt, and excuses. You are not ready. You do
not have enough money. You do not have enough experience. What if you fail? What if people laugh at you? These are not your thoughts. These are the Yetzer Hara trying to keep you from stepping into the water. The moment you recognize this, the moment you say, "I see you, Yetzer Hara. You are afraid of my success. That is why you are fighting so hard to keep me stuck." You take away its power. And then you move anyway. You step into the water not because you are not afraid, but because you refuse to let fear be the deciding vote. There is a beautiful teaching from the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of Hasidic Judaism. He said, "A small light dispels a great darkness." You do not need to take a giant leap. You do not need to have all the answers. You just need to light one small candle. You just need to take one small step. That step, that light, is enough to begin dispelling the darkness of your situation. And as you keep stepping, as you keep lighting candles, the darkness has no choice but to retreat. Let me give you one more layer of understanding, because I want this principle to be seared into your soul. There is a concept in Jewish mysticism called ratzo v'shov, which means running and returning. It describes the movement of the angels and the flow of divine energy. It is a rhythm, forward and back, expansion and contraction, action and rest. This is the rhythm of creation itself, and it is the rhythm of your spiritual life.
When you take your first step, you are engaging in ratzo, the running forward. You are moving towards your goal, towards God, towards your destiny. But then you must also engage in shov, the returning. This is the pause, the reflection, the integration. You take a step and then you pause to see what God does. You take another step and you pause again. This is not the same as waiting passively. This is active faith. You are moving and observing, moving and adjusting, moving and learning. Many people make the mistake of either all ratzo or all shov. They either run forward recklessly without pausing to listen to God's guidance, and they burn out or go in the wrong direction. Or they pause forever, waiting for a sign, and they never move at all. The Torah way is the dance of ratzo v'shov. Move, pause, listen, adjust, move again. This is how you partner with God. This is how you co-create your destiny. I also want to address a subtle but critical distinction. Taking the first step does not mean taking the wrong step. It does not mean acting impulsively or recklessly. The Talmud teaches, Aizehu chacham, haro'eh et hanolad. Who is wise? The one who foresees the consequences. Wisdom is not paralysis, but it is also not foolishness. Before you step into the water, you must have clarity about your direction. You must have consulted the Torah, sought wise counsel, and prayed for guidance. But once you have done that, once you have the clarity, you must move. Do not use seeking more clarity as an excuse to avoid action. At some point, you have enough information. At some point, you must trust and step. There is also a powerful promise in the Torah that I want to leave you with. In the book of Deuteronomy, God says, V'haya im shamoah tishma, and it will be if you surely listen. The sages ask, why the double language? If you listen, you will listen? They explain that it means if you listen to the old commandments, the ones you already know, you will be given the ability to hear the new ones. In other words, if you act on the light you already have, God will give you more light. If you take the step based on the guidance you already received, God will give you the next step. This is the divine economy of revelation. God does not give you the entire roadmap up front. He gives you one step. You take it. He gives you the next one. You take it. He gives you the next one. This is how Abraham walked. This is how Moses led. This is how every person of faith has ever lived. You do not need to see the entire staircase. You just need to take the first step. And when you do, the next step will appear.